All right. Good afternoon, everyone. If you want to swing around so you'll be able to focus on the screen, this would be the time to do that. I'm Greg Barbu, and before I start the next segment of this afternoon's program, I need to clarify one item shown on the screen. This presentation was created by Cheryl Weiss, my wife Linda Barbu, and with the help of Jack Vini. It was quite a lot of work, finding photos and writing the script. I do not want to leave their contribution unrecognized. I did provide some editing, and now am simply the narrator. I accept full responsibility for mispronounced names, slides out of order, and any tongue-tied speech you may hear. With that out of the way, let's begin. We at Westminster Presbyterian Church are a community inspired by the call in Micah 6:8 to do justice, love kindness and mercy, and walk humbly with God. This call draws our community together as we seek opportunities to put faith into action. Since its inception in 1874, Westminster's members have been leaders in women's and civil rights and have worked to be peacemakers at the local, national, and international levels. Here are some examples of Westminster's striving to follow the call of Micah 6:8. What we share is but a small sample of our Westminster community life since our 100th anniversary in 1974. Westminster has a long history of engaging in social justice issues with work towards reconciliation. With our faith rooted in a vision for a more just world, we are challenged to become more mindful through prayer, worship, education, and service of doing justice. We strive to be mindful of the racism in our midst and work toward finding opportunities to build the beloved community through raised awareness and partnering with local organizations such as the NAACP. Over these years, book studies and speakers in adult education classes have helped us become mindful and engaged in work towards racial justice. We have participated in rallies and marches against racial injustice. We have participated in events celebrating Black history, such as the Juneteenth celebration, and we have raised awareness of community issues. When David and Marty Mulstead, son-in-law, an official at the Southern Poverty Law Center, came to Wooster for a weekend, he inspired many in worship toward concrete work for racial justice. Westminster partnered with the NAACP to set a goal of eliminating the sale of Confederate flag merchandise at the Wayne County Fair. Thus, the Wayne County Fair for All campaign was begun and ultimately achieved its goal. Westminster is a giving community of believers and seekers. In addition to the time and energy spent on various social justice causes, members and volunteers are committed to compassionate acts of service that benefit the local community and beyond. In 1994 and 95, our youth experienced urban issues firsthand through the Cleveland Catholic Workers Urban Plunge experience. They learned lessons about a reality different from theirs when they temporarily lived as one without a home. The experience included eating meals at a shelter and working in a community garden. Our youth groups raised money for mission trips to New York, Arizona, the Dominican Republic, and multiple trips to Mexico. Participants provided labor for specific projects and gained perspective regarding how life in a developing country differs from their own. The young people in these slides are now adults, many whose adult life paths have been impacted by these trips. Mary Kilpatrick, a member from the 1970s through 2013, states in her reflection, "My children were educated in Westminster, especially in the youth group. I appreciate the leadership of the pastors and Greg Barbu in the deep, open discussions and activities. With the mission trips they took to various places, they were able to learn about how others lived and were able to do mission work to help others. This made a big impression on them about the importance of serving as Jesus taught. My oldest son, now a doctor, continues in his present church to support and volunteer in an ongoing mission in the Dominican Republic." End of quote. The youth were not the only ones traveling to Mexico. In 2005, adult Westminster members traveled to Hobash, a small island on the northern tip of the Yucatan, to build a classroom atop the roof of the Iglesia Nacional Presbyteriana Church. We support Habitat for Humanity in Wayne County by providing labor and meals for workers. Our financial commitment included yearly donations and special fundraisers, such as yard sales, meals, and auctions. Collecting and packing items for Gifts of the Heart provide a hands-on activity, assisting neighbors near and far. Hygiene kits provide basic necessities to those affected by natural or human-made disasters. School kits support children's education. Initiated by Reverend Meyer, Westminster has contributed over $50,000 worth of items for the Gift of the Heart's kids. We have had the Italian hearty soup sale for 15 years. In these photos, we are making hearty Italian soup with students in the English as a second language and adult basic education classes. This gave participants a chance to practice language skills and pay it forward through helping others. Money earned from the soup sales financed the following: GED tests, work clothing, transportation vouchers, cots for the severe weather shelter, and funds to assist refugees and our immigrant siblings. Westminster has supported Every Woman's House from its inception in 1979 with both volunteers and financial assistance. Talent shows, free will offerings, I just lost my place, and other activities generated funds. Break the Cycle teams have walked and cycled in multiple events, raising awareness of the money for chemical dependency recovery. We have supported Central American medical outreach and Meals on Wheels with volunteer labor and funds. Westminster is a fully open, affirming, and inclusive church with a long history of working for women's rights and supporting the LGBTQIA+ community. We support the inherent sacred worth of all persons and their gifts for leadership in the life of the church and the world. The Women's Study and Support Group, Dream Group, Women's Church, and Women's Retreats provided safe spaces for exploring and honoring the divine feminine, women's intuition, and life experiences. In our reflections, a participant states, "My theology was broadened through the study of many books in Women's Study and Support Group, worship during Women's Church, and activities of Dream Group. I became aware of the inclusive language about God." Attending marches in Washington and gathering local in support of women's issues were powerful, affirming experiences. Likewise, support for and solidarity with others regarding human rights for LGBTQIA+ siblings is an expression of a justice for all God's children. Advocating for peace in Central America has continued from the 1980s with demonstrations and marches. The photos here are from a march in the late 1980s when we took students to Washington, D.C. in support of peace in Central America and South Africa. To better understand the continuing conflict in the Middle East, we embarked upon book study and discussion and sponsored speakers residing in Israel, Palestine. Westminster member Nahida Gordon is recognized nationally and internationally for her leadership in work for justice in Palestine. Westminster sponsored at least 3 trips to Palestine, which included college students and church adults. The Westminster trips the Gordons organized were transformational for those participating. These provided first-hand experiences in the Palestinian reality, including international groups picking olives for harvest on Palestinian land that was in jeopardy. As part of the peacemaking project in Palestine, we partnered with the St. George Greek Malachite Church with its priest, Father Abuna Faras. Our support continues through the sale of soap and oil made from olives harvest in Palestine. With member Richard Bell's connections to South Africa, we studied about the indigenous African philosophy and both the challenges of healing the country and the construction of a new constitution. Pastor Dries Coetzee, a native of South Africa, further enhanced our knowledge of the history of that country. He led 2 different groups to South Africa to understand apartheid and the work of South Africans towards peace and reconciliation. Many in our congregation supported the sanctuary movement in the 1980s. They not only studied locally about the plight of Central American immigrants, but also desired to experience and connect more directly with those fleeing from persecution. In 1990, Associate Pastor Tim Anderson took the first group of Westminster High School youth on a mission trip to the Dominican Republic. In 1991, he took another Westminster youth group trip to Arizona and Mexico through the Border Links organization, an organization which grew out of the sanctuary movement. That transforming experience for our youth then inspired the first adult group to take a Border Links trip in 1992. In 2010 and 2012, we took both Westminster members and College of Wooster students on Border Links trips. We experienced the difficulty and danger of the desert and heard stories of those who made the desert crossings. Our increased awareness encouraged us to advocate for legislation for just immigration law. We formed ecumenical advocacy groups, and we attended statewide marches. We have worked with the Hartville Migrant Ministries, especially enriching the experiences of the children of migrant workers. We support the Migrant Worker Project, a social services agency in Canton, providing legal and personal help to local Latinx. In 2019, Westminster organized an ecumenical drive in our county to purchase a van for the group. The van is now heavily used for transport to legal appointments, shopping trips, and other needs. COVID did not slow us down. We raised funds via a drive-through meal pickup and outdoor dinners to support the Immigrant Worker Project and our local partner, Open Arms Hispanic Ministries. The director and Latinx families from Open Arms Hispanic Ministries shared their experiences during multiple church worship services. We also provided tutors for the Open Arms Hispanic Ministries Children's Tutoring Program. In addition, Westminster members serve on the Open Arms Board. Concern for God's creation has been continual, enhanced by family retreats to learn about and experience nature. We worked with others in community gardens for church beautification and to establish awareness of sustainability. We support the Citizens Climate Lobby efforts to lower carbon emissions. Members of our church community are actively involved in fostering cooperation in Congress and in our neighborhoods. Westminster seeks to be a community that values and affirms diversity. We embrace the house metaphor to emphasize our commitment to radical hospitality and our desire to be a welcoming and inclusive church. There have been many opportunities to offer fellowship within our church family and to the college community, from student seeker groups during Barbara Duay's time, to congregational picnics, to providing church youth a safe place for sharing and having fun. Over the years, we extended hospitality to groups connected to the college. For more than 35 years, we hosted the Gomez Youth Choir, led by Curtis Gomez, son of College of Wooster professor and Westminster member Annetta Jefferson. Westminster's outreach to college students has been rewarding and mutually beneficial. Heidi Haverkamp, a Westminster intern, reflects, "One of the first events I attended my first week at the College of Wooster in 1994 was a Westminster social welcome in the courtyard at Mackey Hall. It was there that I met some of my very best college friends and began a spiritual journey that in a large part was centered upon the loving, supportive members of Westminster Presbyterian Church. The welcome and sense of community as a young adult among older adults was also new to me, and I still give thanks for it every day." We open the doors of love and hospitality to students, starting with the brownie receptions when they arrive on campus, and ending with the celebration of their graduation. We also have ministered to students through events open to the wider community. Our monthly vegan potlucks started in 2010 to provide support and fellowship for those desiring to learn more about healthy eating options. They have become widely attended and anticipated by college students. Hospitality to the wider community has been a hallmark of our call for loving mercy and kindness. For example, we offered a place at the table for a group of Columbus City High School soccer players who were housed and fed at Westminster during a local tournament. 2 of the boys enjoyed their time here so much that they returned to Wooster after high school to attend the college. We have offered warm hospitality to Presbyterian USA leaders, such as Jimmy Hawkins, director of the Office of Public Witness. And every year, we celebrate the arrival of the performers and support staff from the Ohio Light Opera Company with a picnic. Community events, such as our Chinese New Year dinner, provide us the opportunity to open our doors wide. Westminster has continuously sponsored a scout troop since 1915. We have been a home for the troop to practice the tenets of the Scout Oath. The Scouts reciprocate through the many generous ways they offer to help our congregants and have helped to beautify the church house grounds. Showing and sharing kindness within our own church family has been another tangible demonstration of Micah 6:8. Our support groups have enriched the spiritual and emotional and intellectual lives of their participants. We value the lives of all our members, here making Easter baskets for shut-ins and visiting those who cannot attend services. Care for the congregation during the time of COVID was vital to maintaining connections. We provided care packages on the doorsteps of everyone in our church family. We have shown love and strengthened our congregational community through special treat times, such as ice cream socials. These were made possible through the sale of plants grown and donated by Dave Schmidt. This plant sale will occur next Sunday after service.
Don't buy your plants before.
Don't buy your plants before then. Save up your money, come to Westminster. Another manifestation of Micah 6:8 is the outreach to children, both within our church family and wider community. Pastor Eniku initiated the WPC Compassion Camps, where children gained compassion for others through camp activities and learned firsthand about God's gracious compassion for them through the kindness and care of those who led the camp. Westminster Presbyterian Church strives to be an inclusive community of believers and seekers. We believe God continues to call us to proclaim the inclusive love of Jesus Christ. We seek to provide a home which nurtures every member into the covenant of Christian life. Westminster, with its doors open to the world, provides a place to gather where worshipers can forge relationships with God and one another. Our faith is the basis of our church family's inspiration, actions, and energy. Extending communion to those who cannot attend church in person is a manifestation of that love, allowing every member into the covenant of Christian life. The continuity of generations at Westminster was felt when Rosie Peterson was baptized into our congregation, as was her dad, Josh Peterson. Our spiritual bonds are formalized and strengthened through reoccurring traditions like baptism. The participation of children in the celebration of our church seasons has given many of those children, shown here from 30, 40, and 50 years ago, a strong foundation in their life and faith. Sandy Berry, a member who's taught children Sunday school during those years, reflects, "We were smitten by the children in classes from 1970s through 90s. The children and youth stretched our journey of faith over the years with our preparations from a variety of curricula, their probing questions, and unquenchable knowledge seeking. Sharing the many aspects of our faith journey honestly and openly offered seekers and believers alike a home at Westminster. The liberation theology journey shared during the 1992 Borderlands trip was transformative, as was the sharing done during our own Bible studies. From Easter sunrise services on McGaw Roof in the 1980s to services at Oak Hill Park to recent times at Westminster, we have had the gift of celebrating together. There is a place at Westminster for each of us, and a joy to inclusively welcome all who care to join us in our church family as we worship. We have gained much from our choir and choral scholars. One student notes in his reflections, "I sang with the Westminster Choir as a choral scholar the 4 years I was a student at Wooster. This experience was so special for so many reasons, chief among them providing me with a warm, loving community outside of the college. We have been blessed with rich musical richness from inspired music directors and organists. We also are thankful for the many years that Ken Schaefer has shared his talent and time with us. Here he is shown with former music director Stephen Leslie. Joyfully celebrating comings and goings has been a large part of Westminster's communal life, especially as the congregation in residence on the college campus. The ties forged through Westminster have fostered deep and lifelong connections. In 2008, former interns returned to Westminster for their 10-year reunion. Former intern Mika Vandersall reflects, "I am so grateful for Westminster as a part of my larger church family that has raised me and loved me. Thank you for the opportunity to serve alongside you, be your friend, and find God in your midst. I wouldn't be where I am without the formation you offered. What a great gift that you have been present with so many students over so many years." We have had further opportunities to dive deeper into our relationship with God through Advent and Lenten studies, contemplative worship, and walking in mindfulness. Even in the unprecedented days of COVID-19, shutdowns and isolation, our church community strived to support each other as we worshiped together. We now worship joyfully in person with creative, inspiring worship experiences, such as this moving liturgical Earth Day dance in April of this year. Each of our pastors has loved and nurtured us, using many talents and gifts to guide us in living out the transformative love and of the kingdom of God. Using their wisdom and energy, they moved us forward as a congregation and individually. It wasn't always smooth sailing, but the journey was edifying and worthwhile. We are thankful to each of you. As retired Presbyterian minister Mark Wendorf, a former Westminster associate pastor, writes in his reflections, "Congratulations on 150 years. My years of ministry, 1980 to 1985, were my very first in the ministry. I was young, naive, and made my fair share of mistakes, but you were gracious and forgiving with me." Retired pastor Gordon Stewart, who served Westminster 1977 to 1983, shares in his reflection, "If the walls of the church house upper room could talk, they would tell the untold stories of church members, students, faculty, and administrators wrestling like Jacob at the Jabbok, wrestling with the presence we cannot see. But the walls of the upper room would tell more than the secret dangers and toils and snares they hold in silence. They would gladly tell of the faith, courage, and resilience that sometimes, by grace alone, led to that deeper knowledge about God and ourselves." Westminster will continue to strive for peace and justice, and to be an open and inclusive worship home. A current member in his reflections sums up Westminster's strengths as follows: "I am grateful that Westminster welcomes believers and seekers who listen to their inner light without fear of rebuke. My name that follows the teaching of Christ and holds firm the belief that goodness is stronger than evil, love is stronger than hate." Thank you for your attention.
Well done, Greg.
Well, who's ready?
One of these is
I promise not to take 30 minutes. Guaranteed. But thank you, Greg. Wow, what a great trip down memory lane for some of us who have been here almost the whole 50 years, some of us who have been here beyond 50 years, and those who have not been here that long to reflect on the journeys that we've all been on together. Today, I'd like to share more information about the commemorative mission project that you've been hearing about for the last 3 months, known as the Mustard Seed Campaign. And we'll be offering you an opportunity to continue to help us as we strive to meet our goals. Last fall, my husband Rich and I were at home, and I remember very clearly his sharing with me an article that he had just read on November 19th. It was the November 19th edition of This Is True newsletter, which is an electronic newsletter by Randy Cassingham, who has been doing this newsletter since 1994. Rich, at that point, read about the RIP medical debt program. Shared it with me, and I looked at him and said, we have to donate. Well, fast forward to Sunday, December 3rd. At that point, a general invitation was presented to the congregation of Westminster for anyone interested in helping with the planning for Westminster's 150th celebration. And that would take place in May of 2024. Rich and I chose to participate. I twisted his arm in coming and to the initial meeting. During that discussion, the statement was made, and I remember it very clearly, that it would be wonderful to have a, quote, project to commemorate the occasion and help the wider community. We looked at each other, and I punched him in the ribs and said, tell him about this, which he did, and gave the basics of the RIP medical debt program. And the decision was made that that would be our project for this amazing event of 150 years and celebrating. It so happened that Annika had just preached, I believe it was that Sunday, a sermon on the mustard seed parable from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, verses 30 to 32. How shall we compare the kingdom of God? It is like a mustard seed, the smallest of all the seeds on earth. When sown, it rises up and becomes the greatest of all vegetables. So this was the inspiration for naming our campaign to celebrate Westminster's 150th. It fell on our shoulders, Rich's and mine, to research this project and get us up and running. And as we began to research it, we found that there were certain parameters that we had to follow. The first was the campaign would last only for 4 months. No more, no less. The second was that a minimum goal had to be $10,000. As you can imagine, we sort of looked at each other and went, wow, $10,000 in 4 months, can we do this? But it seemed the right thing to do. As we moved on, it was our opportunity to define the area of support that we wanted to send our campaign, our monies to. And at that point, we chose Wayne County and the surrounding counties around Wayne County. So that included Holmes, Ashland, Medina, Stark, and Summit. Once those parameters were set into place, we worked very closely with our contact at RIP Medical Debt, and they agreed, yes, there is enough medical debt available that we have purchased that your campaign would go towards that entity, those entities. For your information, RIP Medical Debt went under a major rebranding just last month. And I thought, oh my gosh, is that going to change everything for us? But they assured me, no, we're still good to go. It is now undue, and by that it's DUE, undue medical debt. The reality is that every day, 1 in 2 Americans choose between paying medical bills and covering basic needs. Nearly 50% of U.S. adults delayed or skipped medical care due to the high cost. 50% of U.S. adults would not be able to afford an unexpected $500 bill. 2/3 of bankruptcies cite medical debt as a leading cause. The way our RIP medical debt or undue medical debt is structured, for every $10 donated, that relieves $1,000 on average of undue medical debt for families in financial need. This is possible because undue medical debt uses donations to buy debt in large bundled portfolios, pinpointing the debt of those most in need. When a contribution is made, undue then uses data analytics to pinpoint the debt of those most in need. Households that earn less than 4 times the federal poverty level, which varies by county and family size, or whose debts are 5% or more of annual income. Since 2014, almost $12 billion has been raised to provide medical debt relief to over 7.45 million people in the U.S. With the decision to move forward, we began to share the campaign with the community, and the response has been incredible. Using media, Frank Relly, who is with us here today, put together an extensive communication campaign using media sources, sharing information with local organizations, contacting our churches, etc. Our campaign officially began February 1, and we met our initial $10,000 goal in 5 weeks. We still had 3 months to go. So the Wisdom of Session on March 22nd approved a new goal. And our new goal was $20,000 to complete the campaign. And the campaign will end the morning of June 3rd. So we're not finished yet, which is exciting. The most recent estimate for the total amount needed to cover the acquired medical debt for Wayne and the 5 surrounding counties as of this past week is $17,500. Now, this could change between now and June 3rd if they acquire more debt that's available. All monies beyond that amount that we raise will remain in Ohio, but undue medical debt will make the decision of where it is needed most to add to their campaign. As I said, our campaign ends the morning of June 3rd. We will have our final celebration on Sunday, June 2nd, so everybody's invited to come back. That'd be great. After that, we will be provided with a report that indicates the amount of debt relieved in each county. We will also those who had their debt forgiven will receive a notice stating this, and Westminster will be identified as the campaign, the Mustard Seed campaign that provided that. We will not receive individual notification of who these people are, but if they choose to reach back to us, that would be, up to them. And that should happen within 2 to 3 weeks of the closing of our campaign. So we're not looking at it way down the road. That will happen once our campaign ends. At this very moment, at least from when I stood up from the table, we have currently raised $18,652.30. So we are 93% of the way right now. As you can see, we've made tremendous progress, but we're not finished. So here's my my ploy now. If you would like to contribute to the Mustard Seed campaign, please feel free to use the QR code that is located in your program. And that has happened while we were sitting here for our luncheon today. You can access our site and make your contribution now, today, tomorrow, whenever you feel moved to support our community and impact the lives of so many. The QR code, as I said, the QR code and the website are located in the program. We will place the Live Undo website on the screen following the program today. So if you're so moved to contribute before you leave and you misplaced your program or you need help with that, feel free to do that. It would be fun, and we're going to, as I said, we're going to put the live site up, and it would be fun to see that tick up before we all here. Just saying. So, I want to personally thank you all for the support in the life, for your support in the life of Westminster, and we look forward to the next 50 years of being a catalyst for change and peace in our community. This whole process has meant an awful lot to me, and I can't be more blessed than to be a part of this community. So thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Just a few remarks before we conclude. Earlier, when I was scanning the audience for clergy who are present, I failed to notice the presence of our Aaron Guzman. So, Aaron, welcome and thank you for being here. Aaron was our dedicated Minister of Student Affairs and now is chaplain at the College of Wooster. I want to thank you again for all who have contributed to this lovely celebration. Your thoughts and energy and planning have been a wonderful expression of your care for Westminster. Two groups that we haven't thanked yet. One is the wonderful catering staff who provided this very lovely luncheon. Dick Berry. Thank you, Dick Berry, very much for being our photographer. You're a skilled photographer. Please continue to add your reflections and timeline suggestions to our website. This is a celebratory year, not just a day. And we will continue to add your reflections to your website during the year. Be sure to pick up an anniversary mug to take as a memento of the occasion as you leave. And after we adjourn, we'll display the Mustard Seed campaign one more time to see how close we are to our goal. Today marks not the completion of an anniversary, but the beginning of our future. Let us live joyfully into that future. Let us live faithfully. We are indeed called to live faithfully and to love one another. You conclude.
Thank you very much for giving me this honor to be with you today, but also to close with prayer. Will you pray with me? God, who inspired the prophet's song, not only inspires, but is embodied through the prophet's words and actions. May your will and work be embodied in all we do. And may people say of us, as they said of the early church, see how much they love one another, but that our love is not just for ourselves and among ourselves, but spread out through others in the world, especially those who feel unloved or even told they are unlovable. May we embody the ministry of Christ in all that we do. And as the vision is, this is not just looking back. We're thankful for the shoulders and the work that's been done before, but we look ahead to the work that you've given us. It's a different world than it was in 1874, yet the challenges are the same. justice, peace, reconciliation, healing, but most of all, love. May all that we do show the love of Christ. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.